You don't hear them come. That's the part nobody tells you. Whatever you think you know about wild hogs, the tusks, the size, the stories your uncle swears are true, the truth is that most people in Texas have never once laid eyes on the animal that did the damage. They only see the damage. They walk out at dawn to a pasture that looks like it was run through with a plow. A lawn peeled back to bare dirt overnight, a cemetery, a ball field, a county road shoulder turned over in the dark by something that was already a mile away by sunrise. The wild hog is a nocturnal rumor with a body. It works at night, in numbers, and it is gone before the story it left behind is even light enough to read. And here is the thing Texas has quietly agreed not to say out loud. This is not an invasion that is coming. It is one that already happened. It happened so long ago and so completely that the animal doing it has been on this ground longer than the state has had its name. There are somewhere around 2.6 million wild hogs in Texas right now, roughly half of every wild hog in the entire United States, and they live in all but one of the state's 254 counties. Only El Paso, out on the far western tip, has managed to keep them out. Everywhere else, at night, the ground is theirs. And the reason no one can control them is not that no one has tried. It's that the math was never winnable. Before we get into it, if this is the kind of thing that keeps your mind turning after the video ends, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel. And I want to know one thing while you're here. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your town in the comments. I love seeing how far these reach. Now let's get into it. Start with what they leave behind. A wild hog eats by rooting, driving that hard, flat snout into the earth and turning it over to get at roots, tubers, grubs, anything living under the surface. A group of them, and they travel in groups called sounders. Working a field overnight does not nibble. It excavates. It can leave a crop field looking like it was shelled, a hay meadow churned into ruts a tractor can't cross, a park or a golf course or a football field rototilled from one end to the other. And the bill for it is staggering. Feral hogs cause an estimated $500 million in damage every year in Texas alone, and some newer surveys put the state's losses far higher than that. Across the country, the number runs well past 1.5 billion. They tear out fences and rip up irrigation lines. They foul stock tanks and creeks, rooting the banks until the water clouds with sediment and bacteria. They eat the eggs and chicks of ground-nesting birds, the fawns of deer, the reptiles and salamanders of the creek bottoms. And on the highway, a 200-pound animal standing in the dark is a wreck waiting to happen. Collisions with them cost tens of millions of dollars more every year. Whatever a wild hog touches, it degrades, and it touches almost everything. To understand why they are impossible to get rid of, you have to understand that they were never wild here to begin with. The wild hog is not a native Texan. It is a European animal, and it arrived with the first Europeans. When Hernando de Soto's expedition pushed across the southeast and reached Texas in the 1540s, it drove herds of domestic pigs along as walking food. And at every camp, some escaped, and some were left behind on purpose to feed the men on the way home. By the late 1500s, there were already wild pig populations loose in the country. For the next 3 centuries, settlers let their hogs range free across open land, and every hard winter and every abandoned homestead fed more of them into the wild. Then in the 1930s, ranchers and sportsmen imported the real thing, European wild boar, the so-called Russian boars, and turned them out on game ranches for hunting. The boars did exactly what boars do. They got out, and they bred with the free-ranging feral pigs already in the brush. What came out the other side is the animal Texas has now. Not quite a domestic pig gone wild, not quite a European boar, but a hybrid of both. Tusked, bristled, lean, fast, and smart. It has had 500 years to get good at being here. Which brings us to the number that explains everything else on this list. A wild sow can begin breeding at 6 months old. She can raise more than 1 litter a year, 6 piglets at a time on average, sometimes far more, enough that a single female can put around 60 new hogs into the population over just 5 years. Left alone, a wild hog population in Texas grows by roughly 86% a year. It can double in as little as 4 months. And here is the wall that every control effort in the state slams into. To simply hold the population flat, not shrink it, just keep it from growing, you have to remove 70 to 75% of every hog in Texas every single year. Sport hunting, the thing most people picture as the answer, takes out maybe 23%. A hunter on the ground averages about 1 hog a day. You could hunt wild hogs in Texas every night for the rest of your life, and the population would still be climbing behind you. The animal outbreeds the gun. That is not a failure of effort. It is arithmetic, and the arithmetic does not care how many of them you shoot. So Texas has thrown everything it has at them. The state made it about as easy to kill a hog as it is legally possible to make it. No closed season, no bag limit, no hunting license required to shoot them on private land as long as you have the owner's permission. Kill as many as you want, however you want, whenever you want. It still isn't enough, so they went up. Helicopter gunning, the outfits that run it call them pork choppers, puts shooters in the air at sunrise to chase sounders across open country, and at around $20 a hog. It's one of the most cost-effective tools out there. But it only works on open terrain where the hogs can't melt into the brush. And even the people flying it will tell you the truth. One company might have permission to hunt over 400,000 acres, and it's still just one company against millions of animals in a state the size of Texas. So they built smarter traps, big corral traps triggered from a phone, designed to catch an entire sounder at once, because catching half a sounder just teaches the other half. And it helps. But the hogs are genuinely intelligent. They learn the traps. They learn the shape of the thing that took their family, and they stop walking into it. Then came the poisons, and that is where the war gets strange. For years, the great hope was a toxic bait. Warfarin, the same anticoagulant used in rat poison and in human blood thinners, turns out to be lethal to pigs, and a product called Kaput was built around it. The EPA approved it, and within weeks, Texas pulled the state registration, because the moment you put poison out on the landscape, everything gets complicated. A hunters association, a wild hog meat processor, and environmental groups all went to court over it, because a poisoned hog is still a hog that people eat, and a poisoned hog can wander off and die in a neighbor's stock tank, and warfarin takes 4 or 5 days to kill, which is 4 or 5 days for the animal to go anywhere it wants. After years of study and legal fighting, Texas finally cleared a warfarin bait for limited use, but hedged and restricted and slow. Another toxicant, sodium nitrite, which essentially puts a hog to sleep and simply doesn't let it wake up, has been field tested and is still waiting on federal approval. There is even a contraceptive bait aimed at the males. None of it is a silver bullet. Every tool powerful enough to matter is also dangerous enough to be feared. And so the most effective weapons against the hogs spend most of their time tied up in exactly the caution that keeps them from ever being used at scale. If you've stayed with me this far, you are clearly someone who actually wants to understand this, not just the animal, but why a place this big and this capable can't win against it. So if you haven't yet, this is the moment to subscribe, because from here it stops being about crops and starts being about people. A wild hog is not just an agricultural problem. A big boar can weigh anywhere from 100 to over 400 pounds, and unlike most animals its size, it does not always run. Cornered, wounded, or guarding its young, it will stand its ground, and it will charge, and it carries tusks that sharpen themselves against each other every time its jaws move. Texas leads the entire country in reported wild hog attacks on people. Most of them end in a scare and a bad memory, but not all. In 2019, a 59-year-old woman named Christine Rollins arrived before dawn at the rural home east of Houston where she worked as a caretaker, and she was killed in the yard by a group of feral hogs before she ever reached the door. She died of blood loss. It is rare, genuinely, statistically rare, but it is not impossible, and it happened on an ordinary morning in an ordinary yard. And then there is what they carry. Wild hogs are a living reservoir for diseases like swine brucellosis and pseudorabies, infections that can pass to livestock, to pets, and in the case of brucellosis, to the hunters who field dress them barehanded. The animal is dangerous coming and going, dangerous to meet and dangerous to touch, even after it's dead. And it is not staying in the country. The old story Texans tell themselves that hogs are a rural problem, a rancher's problem. Someone else's fence is coming apart in real time because the hogs are following the water and the soft green grass straight into the suburbs. At Christmas of 2024, the city of Kyle, just south of Austin, had to warn its residents that feral hogs had moved onto city parkland and started tearing it apart. Early the next year, a sounder rooted through yards and school grounds near a park in Irving, right in the middle of the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. Towns up in Denton County have logged hogs causing traffic accidents. These are not remote places. They are subdivisions and ball fields and school lawns, watered, soft, and full of exactly what a hog wants. And the hogs are arriving at night, doing their work, and slipping back out before the neighborhood wakes up. The same thing they have always done, just closer now to more people than ever before. So here is what this is really about. Not fear. Fear is easy, and it burns off by morning. It's about what it means to lose a war so slowly and so completely that you eventually stop calling it a war at all. Texas did not fail to fight the hogs. It legalized every method, took the fight into the air, built the traps, funded the science, went to court over the poisons. It did everything a state can do. And there are still 2.6 million of them spread across 253 of 254 counties, growing faster than anyone can cut them down, because the animal was simply built to win a fight measured in births instead of battles. The land is being remade underneath the state, one field and one lawn and one creek bank at a time, mostly in the dark, mostly unseen. The hogs were here before the roads had names. They came over on the first ships, got loose, bred with everything that came after, and never left. And now they are so deeply woven into this ground that the question is no longer how to get rid of them. It's how to live on top of something you can't get out from under. You will not hear them come. You'll only see, in the gray light of some ordinary morning, the shape of what they did, and know that whatever it was, it is already a mile away, and there are more of them today than there were yesterday.